Most gardeners waste hundreds of dollars on fertilizers and soil amendments while completely missing the most powerful soil-building force available for absolutely free. Right now, beneath your garden beds, an underground workforce stands ready to transform your soil from lifeless dirt into the kind of rich, dark earth that produces incredible harvests. These workers are earthworms, and they'll multiply like crazy when you plant 3 specific plants that engineer the perfect conditions for a population explosion. The transformation happens fast, and once you see it, you'll wonder why anyone bothers with expensive soil products at all. Why earthworms matter more than fertilizer. Before we reveal these 3 powerhouse plants, you need to understand why earthworms are worth more than any product you can buy at a garden center. These creatures work around the clock, tunneling through compacted soil and creating channels that let air and water penetrate deep into your beds. They consume organic matter and excrete castings that contain about 5 times more nitrogen, 7 times more phosphorus, and 11 times more potassium than the surrounding soil. Their burrows improve drainage in heavy clay, while helping sandy soils retain moisture. The difference between soil with abundant earthworms and soil without them is, honestly, the difference between struggling plants and thriving gardens. But here's what most gardeners get wrong. You can't just buy a container of worms, dump them in your garden, and expect them to stick around. Worms need specific conditions to survive and multiply. They require consistent moisture without waterlogging, stable temperatures, plenty of organic matter to eat, and soil that isn't compacted or, chemically hostile. The 3 plants we're about to explore don't just attract worms. They fundamentally transform your soil into the ideal earthworm habitat, triggering population explosions that sustain themselves year after year. Plant number 1, the deep-root nitrogen factory. Fava beans belong to the legume family, and they possess an almost supernatural ability to change soil chemistry while creating the perfect earthworm environment. When you plant these green manure crops, something remarkable happens underground. Their roots develop small nodules that house specialized bacteria capable of capturing nitrogen directly from air pockets in your soil and converting it into usable plant food. This partnership between plant and bacteria creates a nitrogen-rich zone that feeds the entire soil ecosystem. Earthworms don't eat nitrogen directly, but they absolutely thrive on the explosion of microorganisms, bacteria, and fungi that flourish in nitrogen-enriched soil. As fava bean roots grow, they penetrate deep into your soil profile, breaking through compacted layers and creating channels throughout the entire depth of your beds. And when these roots eventually die and decompose, they leave behind organic matter, not just at the surface but throughout the soil column. This 3-dimensional food distribution encourages earthworms to move through every layer of your garden, aerating and enriching soil that would otherwise remain dense and lifeless. The magic really happens when you cut down mature fava bean plants at soil level, right after they begin flowering. Leave the roots undisturbed underground where they'll decompose slowly, releasing nitrogen and organic matter for months. The chopped tops can be left as surface mulch or just lightly incorporated into the top few inches of soil. Within just a few weeks, you'll notice the soil becoming darker and more crumbly as worm populations, just explode in response to this underground feast. Plant fava beans in the fall or early spring, depending on your climate, and let them work their magic before you plant your main crops. Plant number 2, the mineral mining moisture master. Comfrey is the secret weapon that experienced gardeners swear by, but beginners rarely know even exists. This perennial herb develops a taproot system that can reach 6 feet or more into the subsoil, accessing minerals and nutrients that shallow-rooted vegetables can never touch. As comfrey grows, it pumps these deep soil nutrients up into its large, rough-textured leaves, essentially mining fertility from depths your crops could never reach and concentrating it in harvestable biomass. When you cut comfrey leaves and lay them as mulch around your garden plants, or when the plant naturally drops foliage throughout the season, this nutrient-dense material begins decomposing right on the soil surface. The decomposition creates a slow-release buffet that earthworms find absolutely irresistible. But comfrey's worm-attracting power goes beyond just nutrients. Those large leaves create a living mulch layer that moderates soil temperature and maintains consistent moisture levels. Earthworms are extremely sensitive to environmental conditions, requiring soil that stays damp without becoming waterlogged and temperatures that don't fluctuate wildly. The microclimate beneath comfrey leaves provides exactly these conditions. During those hot summer days, soil under comfrey stays remarkably cool and moist, and during light rains, the leaves catch and slowly release water into the ground, rather than letting it just run off or evaporate. Establish comfrey by planting root cuttings or crowns in spring, spacing them about 3 feet apart in a permanent location since this plant will occupy the same spot for years or even decades. Choose the variety called Bocking 14 because it's sterile and won't spread aggressively through your garden. Once established, harvest leaves multiple times per growing season by cutting foliage to about 2 inches above ground level. Use the fresh or wilted leaves as mulch wherever you want to boost worm activity. Within days, worms will congregate beneath the decomposing leaves, and within weeks, that mulch transforms into rich, dark humus. Alright folks, let's dive into plant number 3, the fast-growing biomass builder. Cover crops, especially those speedy brassicas like mustard, are the third pillar of your worm explosion strategy. You see, these plants churn out enormous amounts of biomass in no time at all, and both the lush foliage above ground and the intricate root systems below ground contribute organic matter that nourishes soil life. Mustard, in particular, develops extensive root systems that physically break apart those compacted soil layers. This creates the porous, well-aerated structure that earthworms absolutely love for their tunneling adventures. As these roots grow, they exude carbohydrates and other compounds that feed the rhizosphere, that narrow zone surrounding each root where microbial life concentrates most intensely. This explosion of microbial activity creates a rich food source for worms, who consume not just decomposing organic matter, but also the bacteria and fungi colonizing it. When you terminate the cover crop by cutting it down, both roots and above-ground biomass begin decomposing simultaneously, creating an absolute feast for your worm population. Use cover crops whenever a garden bed will sit empty for a month or longer. Simply broadcast seeds thickly across prepared soil between seasons or during crop rotation. The simplicity is beautiful, and the results are dramatic. These 3 plants work together synergistically to build a soil ecosystem that gets better every year. The legumes provide nitrogen and root biomass, the comfrey brings up deep-mined minerals while maintaining moisture, and the cover crops contribute massive organic matter while improving structure. To maintain these gains, you'll want to minimize tillage, since honestly, every time you turn the soil, you end up destroying worm burrows and disrupting their habitat. Keep your soil covered with organic mulch at all times, and make sure to eliminate synthetic fertilizers and chemical pesticides, because those can really devastate earthworm populations. The worm explosion you create through these strategic plant choices, well, it represents a fundamental shift toward working with natural systems. Start with just one of these plants this season, observe the results, and then, expand from there. Your underground empire of earthworms will work tirelessly, transforming your garden into something truly extraordinary. Subscribe to Crop Corner for more practical gardening wisdom that actually works, and share this with fellow gardeners who are ready to unlock their soil's potential.